Hi, my name's Eric. Welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about Lykke Li. I got a request recently to react to her 2014 album I Never Learn, so this is what that is. Lykke Li has been on my radar for the last few years. I am familiar with her song Dance Dance. Maybe it's Dance Dance Dance. I'll check. It is Dance Dance Dance, 3 dances exactly. I really enjoy that song. I also heard her cover of Unchained Melody, which was really gorgeous. As always, if you have any requests for video topics or things I should react to, let me know in the comments down below, and please subscribe to be here when I post new videos every week. Let's dive in with track number 1, the title track, I Never Learn. Okay, so she's very in her feelings, which makes sense with the sort of self-effacing title and the cover art. The cover art in particular, it's like a black veil, which makes me think of, a wedding veil, but also of mourning. So maybe we're talking about a breakup here, like mourning love. Here in particular, she's talking about like oceans of tears and ice and all of the hallmarks of like sadness, dejection, isolation, loneliness. Okay, she said only love remains, which I thought it might be a breakup, but even in that context, the only thing that's left isn't the relationship, it's the love, right? There's still the hurt. Maybe she's not the person who did the breaking up, she's the person who got broken up with. Okay, so that makes sense. She had this sort of refrain of repeating the words love and lover. She is professing her commitment, and she's saying, I never learn. So if she was hinting before that she was lonely, and now she's basically begging someone to love her back maybe, or begging someone to just receive her love, she isn't necessarily even asking to be loved back, which is pretty desperate. Like, she's loving so strongly that it's killing her. So she's saying, I never learn, as in, I'm going to keep being committed to you. I'm going to keep loving hopelessly, even though I already know it's going to be harmful to me. So that's where the title of the album comes from. So we'll see how this plays out later with her struggling with the knowledge that her love is self-destructive, but still wanting to feel that love. Track number 2 is No Rest for the Wicked. Okay, so we have the idea of the one who got away, so yeah, this is pretty clearly post-breakup. But she opened the song by saying that her heart hurt another, the implication being that she's blaming herself for the failure of this relationship. That makes sense. She's said that she's lonely. Okay, I believe she's referring to herself as the wicked here. She's been pretty self-deprecating so far. She said, I never learned. She's responsible for this breakup. So No Rest for the Wicked makes me think of before when she was talking about all the efforts that she'll put forth for this person, right? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I love you so much. I'm going to express my love. You are my lover. I love you. I love you. I love you with that much intensity. And now she's saying, like, I can't rest because I broke your heart and now I'm being punished for it. And the lack of rest here is the efforts that she's putting forth for this person. She is so fervently loving that she can't get any rest. But with the line, you can't let them win without a fight, if she's referring to them as herself, right, the wicked, if winning is the breakup, then the fight is the love in spite of the breakup. So she's saying to this other person, like, look, I'm bad, I'm evil, I caused this relationship to fail, but I still love you, and if you love me too, then you won't give this up without a fight. This is really spacey, there's a lot of reverb that I really like. Yeah, so as expected, she's saying, like, hold on a little longer, don't let them, which again, she referred to the wicked, them, as, being her, basically. So, like, don't let them get away. She's saying, like, I messed up, but please, can you still try to make this work? So, a little bit, she's revealing that maybe there is something deficient about her in her relationships. If she expects the other person to put forth the effort in addition to her when she's the one who was responsible, as far as we know, for the breakup, then what does that say about her priorities? Okay, I had his heart, but I broke it every time. So she's admitting that not only did she break her lover's heart, she did it habitually. So that's the underlying problem here. She has fallen into a pattern she never learns. She has developed a habit of mistreating her partner. So we have this sort of empathetic but also unlikable character that makes the story of this breakup and potential makeup really compelling. Song number 3 is Just Like a Dream. Okay, she said, I'm letting you go, I'm setting you free. Maybe this is the point where she's giving up, but we're pretty early in the album for her to come to that point, so I don't really trust her yet. So now she just said that she's no longer in love, which again undermines what she just said, like on the last song and the song before. So either she's actually reaching a threshold and we're going to see more of the post-breakup life throughout the album and maybe she'll engage in other relationships, or she's playing games again. Okay, so as expected, she said, morning will come, my will break. Her will right now is she's mustering the strength to say that she doesn't love this person anymore. She's resisting the temptation to fall back in this pattern, and she knows, since she never learns, she's going to do the same thing again tomorrow. Okay, that was clever. She said, before you replace me, lie with me one last time. That can mean two things. Lie as in, to lie together means, to have sex, to have one last hurrah, but also lie, of course, means to be dishonest. So she is saying, like, just fake it for me one last time, pretend that you're in love with me just so that I can feel it before you really let me go. Okay, just like a dream, come back to me. It's a dream, it's an illusion. It is her dream, but it's also a lie. It is not true, it is not real, it is not substantial. And she knows that, and that's the premise. She's saying it doesn't have to be real, we don't have to have feelings. I mean, I'll catch feelings, but you don't have to catch feelings. Just like, come here, hook up with me, and that'll be the end of it. She's probably lying, but I would imagine that this has happened over and over again, and that's why they've been on again, off again as a couple. This is really ethereal, but also really intense and anthemic. So I really enjoy the production so far. It is a nice middle ground between spacey and ethereal and ambient and hard-hitting anthemic pop. It makes it feel a little bit more desolate than we would expect from a typical breakup makeup pop song, and speaks to the emotional desolation that she is experiencing. Track number 4 is Silver Line. Okay, so she's saying, just like before, the potential last encounter was a dream. She is a dreamer. So she's saying, don't wake me up from it. Don't let me believe that I'm not getting what I want. And then she also describes that as faith, with this partner providing that faith and her prayer being like a manifestation of love. Usually in pop songs and love songs, when we talk about faith and prayer and worship, that represents one partner completely submitting themselves to the other. So here again, just like on the opener, she was almost like ritualistically begging for forgiveness and for love. Here she is submitting herself in the interests of that love. If you cannot be Okay, so before she said that she's the dreamer, and now she's describing herself as a dreamer again, and she says, I will be the dreamer in this relationship if I have to be. If you have no love left for me, if you have no imagination left, no room left in your heart and in your mind to see us together, I will do that. Which again relates to the last song where she says, I'm the one with the feelings here. You don't have to catch feelings. Just, sleep with me and that'll be it. For you, you don't have to deal with it. I will carry the burden of the emotions. Okay, I'll be your silver line. Like, she's saying, even if you have no other outlet, I'll be here. Silver lining usually is used in the context of a bad situation, like, hey, look on the bright side. So she's saying, like, if you are in a situation where you have to look on the bright side, I will be your bright side. I will lift you up. I will be your outlet. I will be here basically at your disposal. I will be usable to you whenever you need me. So where before the dream was sex, she's saying here, like, again, I'm the one with feelings. You can be the one who's just getting, physical desire out of your system. Track number 5 is Gunshot. Okay, interesting. So she says, I'm longing for your poison like a cancer for its prey, which sort of seem like mirror images. So if she wants to be harmed by him, right, she knows that this is a toxic relationship, but she still wants him anyway, then it's interesting that she would compare herself to a cancer. We already know that she has decided that she's wicked, but just a second ago, she was the recipient of the toxicity, and now she is giving the toxicity, so it's mutual. Okay, interesting. So now she's portraying herself as harmful in different ways, like specifically a siren. That's kind of like what she's doing here, right? She is singing a song to lure him in, like a siren. But then she says, I am no one, I'm nobody. Which again goes back to that complete self-effacement. Like, look, I am nothing, I'm just an object. I know that I am beckoning you like a siren. I'm luring you to your death. I know that I'm harmful and I know you're harmful for me, but I don't care because I'm not worth anything. Also with these lyrics, I think of the Odyssey. Like, I believe when Odysseus encounters the Cyclops, he calls himself nobody, and he also encounters sirens. So, like, if we think of Lykke Li's partner as, like, Odysseus, like, the typical hero on the hero's journey, then she is like the obstacles that he's encountering. Admittedly, that's a little bit of a stretch, but I couldn't help but think of that. Ooh. This is a banger. Okay, interesting. She said that the shot went through her body, right? But also that she can't take it back. So again, just like the harm was reciprocal, when she does the harm to him, he does the harm back to her. It's a cycle of like abuse and trauma. Okay, again, carry me in my burden. Just like on the second track, we had her begging him to, bear the burden of this relationship. Here again, she is doing the same thing. She acknowledges that she is a burden, but she also sort of irrationally expects him to put up with it. I mean, maybe he will, maybe she will get the satisfaction, but so far she's just been begging. The percussion is really hard and gunshot-like. The drums sort of remind me of In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Okay, those keys at the end were really cool. Yeah, so again, for all of these songs, she's just been begging. I don't know if she will continue begging over the subsequent songs. Maybe there will be a point where she realizes that she is devaluing herself and turns it around, or maybe she will just reach deeper into these depths of despair. Song number 6 is Love Me Like I'm Not Made of Stone, which is definitely a song that I've heard of before and that I've heard good things about. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm excited to listen to it now.
When it sings, when it lies, when it cheats, when it cries.
Okay, so again, we're in the same sort of territory. She's saying that, she can't resist her heart. She also knows that her heart does bad things. This is basically, again, a broader view of her deficiencies as a person.
Love me when it storms, love me when I fall. Every time it breaks, every time it's torn. Love me like I'm not made of stone.
Okay, so again, she's begging. She has not moved beyond that point, but here she introduces the idea of her being made of stone, where stones represent emotional coldness and stiffness and being closed off. She's saying, love me, this could obviously be physical or emotional love if we're continuing from the ideas of the last few songs, but she's saying, love me like I am not emotionally closed off. So that can explain part of what's gone wrong in her relationship so far. If she's broken the other person's heart, maybe that's because she has had this cold, rough exterior and hasn't really been, genuine, hasn't been loving, has only been harsh and severe.
Love me like I'm not made of stone.
These are really strong pop hooks on this album so far.
Breaks, baby, it's torn and stone.
Her vocal performance is so strong and very emotional and very raw too, especially in the production. Wow. Okay, like I mentioned, really strong melody. This is definitely going to be stuck in my head for a while, so I understand where the hype comes from. It follows the same ideas and the same patterns that she's been using so far, but each song melodically is so ear-catching, and her vocal performance is very raw. Her voice is unique. It feels sort of squeezed or closed off in the vein of someone like Cyndi Lauper. It almost feels like she's always pushing and squeezing to get the note out, even though it's very natural. I'm not saying her technique is improper, but it's just the tone of her voice that always feels strained and struggling in a good way. That's where the emotion comes from. And the sort of grainy vocal recordings also make it feel very raw and sort of like a heat of the moment act of desperation. Song number 7 is Never Gonna Love Again, which, if we've learned anything so far, she never learns. So I kind of doubt that she's not going to love again.
We begin the rainfall on me, never gonna love again.
So the production here is already moving more spacey. It kind of feels more in a direction of country. The image of the rain falling on her makes me think of like a cathartic scene in a movie where a character goes and stands in the rain to sort of cleanse themselves. That's what it usually represents. So if she actually isn't going to love again and she's standing in the rain, that makes sense because she's cleansing herself of these patterns of emotion.
Guess I'm never gonna love again. Every time the rain falls, think of me on the lonely highway.
Okay, her last goodbye is her saying, like, if you're not going to love me, if you're not going to hook up with me, if you're not going to fulfill my needs, the last thing that you can do is just remember me. And specifically on the lonely highway. And she's saying, when you're lonely, think of me. Know that you are alone because you denied me your love. Okay, interesting. So maybe there actually is the pattern being broken here because she said, I'm alone tonight, which usually is a way of saying like, hey, I'm alone. Come, let's hang out and do stuff. But like here she's saying, I'm alone tonight, but I'm never going to love again. She's saying, even though I could ask you to come over, even though I could beg you again, I'm done.
Come and tell the
Okay, when she said she's never going to love again, she means she's never going to love anyone else. She's never going to have new love, but she still wants this person's love. So when she said before that she's alone tonight, she actually was asking him to come over. She said, "Come turn the lights down and hold my hand." Like, she's not saying it has to be totally intimate, but she's saying, like, she'll settle for the smaller gestures now. Before, it would have been love and a relationship, then she would have settled for a hookup. Now she's like, just hold my hand.
Is not to run this out. Can't keep running away, 'cause I'm never gonna love again.
Okay, so she's kind of figuring things out now. She's saying, if I can't love anyone else, then I have to love you. That's the dead end. He is driving her to the dead end. He is, by committing again to the relationship on this lonely road that they are now driving together, the dead end is them, which is not a great way to describe love. Dead end usually is like being trapped or being confined. But that's, I guess, her still sort of struggling to reframe things. Like, if before she kept breaking his heart because she wanted to pursue someone new and she saw the relationship as a dead end, then she's still carrying that here, but rethinking it a little bit. Like, maybe the dead end is actually what I want. Nice. So another folk-influenced pop hook with a sort of different take on this desperation. Song number 8 is Heart of Steel, which to me brings to mind the idea of her being made of stone. So if her heart is of steel, again, it's impenetrable. You can't access the love inside. So we'll see how this plays out. Thy. Okay, so again, she is working to access this heart. I don't know exactly whose heart it is. I don't know why she referred to it with thy. Maybe she's just going for a generally antiquated feel, or it's like a prayer, like the heart itself is something to be prayed to, because that sort of antiquated language does appear a lot in like prayer, I think. Okay, so now she's turning inward. Instead of begging her partner to stay with her, now she's begging her heart, like, hey heart, like, you gotta work so that I can have a functional relationship. Like, don't do this to me again. Okay, so she's saying the heart can't be broken, because of course, if the heart's made of steel, it can't be broken, but then it also can't love, really. So maybe the truth that she's arriving at is that she hasn't been vulnerable. Just like before she said she was made of stone, now her heart is of steel, so the issue has been her lack of emotional vulnerability and her unwillingness to get hurt. Okay, so she's saying she can't let her heart win, which is sort of counterintuitive, right? Because if you have a successful relationship, you might usually frame it as the triumph of a heart. But here, since her heart is by nature deficient, her falling in love would be in spite of her heart. Interesting to have a choir, especially when the whole idea of the song is loneliness. Like, a choir is a collective. But earlier on one of her songs, she talked about, I think, the idea of preaching to the choir, like of her loneliness as a type of singing. So I guess it ties back in that way. The final track on I Never Learn, track number 9, is Sleeping Alone.
Will I get used to sleeping alone?
Okay, so now the relationship is definitely over, and she's wondering if she'll get used to sleeping alone. An interesting detail in the first line is that she cuts it off at, will I get used to? Presumably, it leads to the repetition where she reveals that what she's asking is, will she get used to sleeping alone? But the fact that it leads in the first line to silence works really well to talk about what she's feeling, about loneliness. Will I get used to? And then it's empty. Will I get used to an absence? Will I get used to isolation and quiet?
Some days
Ooh, I love the melody. So she's still holding out hope for this person. That's not good. Again, it fits the idea and the title of the album. She never learns. She still has not learned. The relationship has failed over and over and over, and now it really feels like the last time, and she still hasn't figured out that it's not going to work out even in the future. And she's resigning herself to the idea of sleeping alone indefinitely until this person takes her back, which they're not going to, and she knows that. So she settles on the idea of, well, then I'll just be alone forever. Okay, love was my shoreline. Again, we have this idea of like a long boat journey, maybe an odyssey like I mentioned before, and love, or the promise of love, being the, the shore on the horizon. It's the end of this journey, it's this hope, it's like her lighthouse. And then when she says she stares herself blind, she is looking out onto the horizon, right? She is looking towards the shore, towards this love, and she is looking so hard that it destroys her vision. So again, it's this self-destructive impulse to search for love that isn't going to work out. I mean, probably not, but again, this ties back to the title of the album. She ends the album on what on the surface is a hopeful note, but we know from her pattern of behavior and from the way that she has submitted herself to this person, when she says that we'll meet again, it is probably empty hope. This person presumably doesn't want to deal with her anymore, doesn't want to get back together. They've shown it over and over, and this is, an empty promise. So the album does basically end tragically with her as a character not growing beyond these bad habits and these bad impulses and self-destruction, and basically the relationship dying, her hope for love dying, and her self-worth dying. So overall, I Never Learn was really emotional. Lykke Li's vocal performances were really impressive, and the production was really atmospheric and dark, but really nicely mediated sort of experimental sounds with a pop aesthetic and sensibility, especially in the writing of the melodies, which were very ear-catching and just beautiful. If you'd like me to react to anything else by Lykke Li, or you have any other requests for things I should react to on my channel, let me know in the comments down below, and please subscribe to be here when I post new videos every week. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, that's it.